Hey yo, we're back with, of course, another comic book. This time, we'll be taking a look at Red Raven Comics #1. We'll only take a look at the character the book is named after, that of course being the Red Raven. We start with a panel establishing who the Red Raven is and what he looks like. We get a quick description of his mission as a hero. He simply wants to maintain decency in society. Then we go back in time to follow this plane that is essentially doomed to crash after the pilot loses control. It's intercut with a panel of a mother praying for her scared son before the plane crashes into an island. But this isn't any old island, it's actually floating in mid-air. Soon after the wreck, dozens, if not hundreds of these birdmen with wings make their way to the burning aircraft, and it's here we learn that the little kid along with his mother were passengers during the crash. The birdmen rescue the lone surviving child and head to the castle of the king that rules their island. In the castle, we learn these birdmen evolved from, well, birds. Before one of them tries to kill the boy, the king has him spared and determines to raise him to be a force for good throughout the world. Seemingly in this panel, 15 years go by until the king sees fit to release the now grown man into the world to accomplish his mission, because on the Sky Island, people have more advanced development than those on the ground. But the king doesn't just send him off with only his mind and body, he gives him wings and names him after their bravest bird, the Red Raven. Now on the ground, the first issue Red Raven faces is extreme poverty as the country's gold depletes. He sets out to get a job in order to get a closer look at the situation, sort of like what Bruce Wayne does in Year One when he walks around the streets of Gotham trying to really understand the city. Someone tries to cut the line, but Raven doesn't let that happen and socks him in the face. This ignites a brawl and the police have to step in with tear gas to stop the commotion. We cut to this bald character named Zeelmo who's watching the whole thing go down on his gaze grapho. It's a machine that lets him see any undesirable scene in the world. As he watches, he sees the Raven as someone he can use, so he gets his thugs to find him and bring him to him. In this panel, we can see his hand in a case of gold, so it's clear that he's the one responsible for the situation the Raven wants to fix. Something interesting I found about Zeelmo is that he is the polar opposite of the king that trained the Raven. The king had an island up in the sky and declared the Raven as a bird of braveness. Zeelmo has a fortress down underground and has birds associated more with evil flying around him like owls and vultures. Later on, there's going to be more comparisons to draw between the two, but let's move on to the Raven getting arrested. The tear gas has him weak, but before he's taken away, Zeelmo's thugs pull up doing a drive-by on the cops and blow up their patrol truck as they take the Raven. Now at Zeelmo's lair, his thugs lead Raven down a hall into his throne room. Here's another parallel between the king and Zeelmo. More than anything else, this guy worships gold and aims to use it to control everyone else in the world who worships it. He says he's been winning the battle of the survival of the fittest, and I see this as yet another parallel. The king spoke about how evolution works differently on the Sky Island, which is why the birdmen outgrew its pace. Zeelmo thinks he's the fittest, but he doesn't know he's sitting in front of someone who is actually the fittest. The Raven throws a handful of coins in Zeelmo's face, then he presses a button which activates a trapdoor, causing the Raven to fall into a chamber. Zeelmo says he'll age 100 years in 1 hour. He grabs someone else, a woman who's been giving him trouble, to also throw down into the chamber. As she falls in, the Raven gets back up and catches her just in time. Then he switches clothes and gets to work on getting the trapdoor open as the aging gas fills the room and makes him older and weaker. He gets it open and flies out of there, then gives these two thugs a Batman Arkham double takedown before grabbing Zeelmo to toss him down into the aging chamber. He sets a fire, grabs the woman, and gets the heck out of Dodge before the gas can ignite and blow up Zeelmo's lair, putting an end to him. This supposedly causes gold to rain down on the city. The reason I say supposedly is because of what's going to happen in just a little bit. The two part ways and the Raven sets out to find gold caches hidden by Zeelmo's thugs. Before he can find the caches though, he returns back to the Sky Island. After his flight to the Sky Island, Raven meets with the king, who suggests involving the royal scientists in the quest to rid the world of Zeelmo's legacy. The scientist finds it strange that Raven asks for a piece of tech that can detect elements, but regardless does as he requests. This mechanism is capable of detecting gold, which is what the Raven uses it for once he gets back down to Earth. Funnily enough, the device doesn't even help him find the gold at all. He assumes that's because Zeelmo's gang has all their gold underground. What I find odd about this plot point is that earlier we're told that gold was essentially scattered over the city due to Zeelmo's lair blowing up, but all of a sudden there's no gold this device can detect, and it's not as if you can say it's because Zeelmo's gold has different qualities than the rest, as that's the exact gold that reigned over the city. Although you could make the case that the gang went and retrieved all the gold, but that's highly unlikely because we're talking about a city with potentially millions of people who certainly would pick up whatever gold they come across and take it with them. So Raven decides to solve this by posing posing as a scientist and presents the device to a news company. This lures Zeelmo's gang into his trap. Once they find the Raven, he takes him down, then persuades one of the henchmen to give up the gang's hideout. Then we cut to this new figure, someone who took over command of the gang after Zeelmo's death, a man called Ratoga. Just like the previous commander, this one watches the Raven on a gaze grapho machine. He sets up a net trap for Raven, who gets back from dealing with the snitch and flies right into it. Ratoga knocks him out, and much like Zeelmo before him, he has the Raven thrown into a trap. This one isn't a gas chamber, but rather a vibrato machine. It's supposed to throw the victim around until they finally die. As they drop him in, he wakes up and quickly starts flapping his wings to stay suspended in midair. He does this for an entire hour, and they open up the torture machine and think they killed him as he pretends to be dead. Raven leaps out after the gang go away to some other room where Ratoga lays out his plan for power over humanity. Unlike Zeelmo, he doesn't want to rule humanity simply through its own lust for money, but wants to incorporate the threat and use of force to a much more widespread degree than his predecessor. As he's yapping about his plan to essentially create a global monarchy, the Raven waltzes in there and puts an end to the monologue. He takes back the elemental detection device, and here we're shown another function it has. He sets it so that all the gold in Ratoga's lair floods into the room and has them swimming in it like Scrooge McDuck before they seemingly suffocate to death. Then the Raven uses another function of the device that we're just finding out about now. Apparently this thing can also condense molecules into red gas. He uses that to write a message in the sky for the cops to follow and goes about his way, probably back to the Sky Island to tell the king he accomplished the mission. As the last scene, we're brought to the woman the Raven saved from Zeelmo's aging chamber. She listens to a radio report about basically everything the Raven just did, and so that concludes the story of Red Raven Comics #1. The final panel gives us a tease into what was next, not only for Marvel, but also for this channel, as we'll be taking a look at Marvel's first crossover in the next video. Bye.